Are you a fan of pro wrestling, comedy, and combat sports? Then we have the podcast for you because we cover that and much, much more.
Do you like to debate with your friends? Do we have the perfect segment for you? It's the 531, where we take any given subject, break it down to a top 5. From there, we debate it down to 3, and then into that number 1 spot.
If you want to get a hold of us, find us on our social medias. Search Working Fans Podcast on any major social media platform. And if you want to find the podcast, search for us on any major podcast platform, as well as YouTube.
Working Fans Podcast. We put in the work so you don't have to.
Fans, welcome back for a live review of WWE Day 1. Now, Dave had some running around to do, so he missed the pre-show match and the first match. So AJ and I will cover that. And then once we hit the Drew McIntyre Madcap Moss match, we'll switch out and I'll have Dave tag in. Now, AJ, you watched the pre-shows. What did you think of that opening tag match? Sheamus and Ridge Holland versus Cesaro and Ricochet.
I just want to know why the hell that wasn't on the pay-per-view and why they put Moss versus Drew McIntyre on the pay-per-view. That tag match was hard-hitting. If you don't believe me how hard-hitting it is, go back and check out Ridge Holland's nose to see how hard-hitting that is.
Now, right before they mentioned it, I noticed that in the ring there was a large puddle of blood, and then it looked like it almost was a trail out of the ring. And I'm like, there's really only one move that could have hurt him. And of course later they went back and they showed it, and it was pretty rough.
Yeah, that was a hell of a kick. Let me tell you, if he wants to use that as a finisher, for Christ's sakes, it would be believable.
Yes. Now, I had high hopes for the match, and eventually, I mean, Sheamus pulled out the win. I thought it was a good start to the pre-show, but I mean, that injury kind of hampered it, especially with
it did.
Sheamus
It held
getting the solo win.
Well, that it held back a little bit on what the point of the match was. I think the point of the match was to get over Ridge Holland, and this is the second time, unfortunately for him, where he has been injured in times where they're trying to get him over. The same thing happened to him on NXT when he accidentally broke his ankle.
Yeah, this is how you don't take a guy seriously, because every time he gets a break, he gets broken, and that really kind of hurts him.
And whether it's his fault or not, it's something that they will notice in the WWE, and Vince has a tendency of holding back guys who he thinks get injured too often.
Yeah, he's going to be on the next cut list. Now, for the main card, it started with an intro video from Quavo from Migos, a group that was featured heavily on this tonight. And the first match, Usos versus New Day for the Smackdown Tag Championships. I really like this as an opener. I knew it was going to be an awesome match, and it did not let down.
I loved it as an opener. I thought that both teams showed exactly why they are two of the best tag teams in the WWE. Now, the WWE is not known for their tag team wrestling right now, but the two tag teams that they have that could go are the ones that they actually had to open up this one with the Usos and with Kofi Kingston and obviously the New Day there. So,
yeah, now you notice that these teams worked much better than I think Cesaro and Ricochet, because even when I saw them setting up for that flip move, it looked like a thrown together team. It didn't look smooth, and that's probably what kind of ended up with that errant move. But these two teams, Dave said it earlier, that we've seen them so many times together and they don't let down. And it was,
I mean, you're talking about decades of work together.
Yeah.
That's whereas you're talking about Cesaro and Ricochet, who, first of all, their styles don't even match well. At least we have another thrown together team, obviously, in RK Bro, but their styles actually work together. Ricochet's and Cesaro are completely opposite ends of the spectrum, and they don't really mesh well.
Definitely. Now, Randy chiming in, always a good match with the New Day and Usos. They busted out the 3D. After this match, we had a Big E video package. They talked to Big E backstage, and then they talked to Migos backstage. And I know Dave is itching back there to get on the show, but this live stream is brought to you by the Pro Wrestling Vault Volume 1, written by Vinnie Barry, 35 short stories across wrestling. Great book. He also wrote Lance by Chance. You know where to get it. It says right there. Dave, you stayed up late. How you feeling?
Tired, but when I got in, the first thing I did was actually on my way home, I put it on, and Mad Cat Moss was in there, and Baron Corbin, and I'm like, what the fuck? Why am I tuning in at this point? Why is Mad Cat Moss? Like, I don't know if I felt bad for McIntyre that it'd be in this, or the fact that this poor guy has this gimmick. It's just.
The sad part is I think they are doing exactly what the WWE wants them to do. That's the unfortunate thing.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they're doing their job. It was hard hitting. McIntyre scored the win. It was what it should have been. Later on, as this went on, they had a backstage segment too, and I was kind of disappointed that they laid out McIntyre. I want bigger and better things from McIntyre. I'm
disappointed that they keep getting that much time.
Yeah.
I quite frankly, it'd be more entertaining watching Randy Osgood versus a plate of nachos.
Yes. It's still Gregory Skittle still these champs. The champ is here. Josh the board. Is Drew getting a title shot? Doesn't look like it. I don't think
no, absolutely not.
I wouldn't mind seeing him, but so let's get next. We'll talk about the world title.
Josh the board, longest reigning champion, even longer than Roman Reigns.
Yes, but let's talk about RK Bro. RK Bro, the Street Profits, coming out with Tres Amigos. I gotta say, I really do enjoy the chemistry of Randy Orton and Matt Riddle. It is something to behold. Like, the crowd eats these guys up. I thought the Street Profits looked good tonight too. Dawkins at time was, throwing Riddle around. He looked impressive. Everybody did their part. Everybody looked good. That finish where Riddle threw him up in the air and then Orton caught him with the RKO. I loved it.
And that's what I was talking about while you were backstage drinking up an alcoholic beverage. I was talking about the chemistry that they have compared to, say, Cesaro and Ricochet, and the difference between the two. I think that their styles go very well together, whereas I do not believe at all that Ricochet and Cesaro's styles go well together.
Yeah, I mean, I could believe maybe it would take time. They're totally different. They would be an odd couple type thing in terms of ring work, whereas Riddle and Orton, I think, ring work work very well together to your point, but personality wise, they're very different.
I'm sure you saw it this week. The hug heard round the world, and when Randy gave him that hug, I haven't seen a WWE crowd that excited for a hug since probably Daniel Bryan and Kane.
Yeah, definitely brought back flashbacks. All right, so let's get on to the next one. We got Edge versus Miz with Maurice. I like the Brood entrance, and then Edge come out. I thought that was cool. I liked that. I thought the match was fine. Edge is great. Miz is fine, but it's not like I would consider like some of Edge's best matches.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah,
which is a shame, because usually a match with Miz is a night off. I mean, you could say whatever you want about Miz, but he's not exactly the hardest style to work with. He's pretty consistent.
No, it's not that. That's the thing. Like, but you're going to get what you get with Miz too.
Well, that's just it. It's the same match, and you're only going to go so far with it. I think at this point in his career, Edge is better off with people that he can work with, and they're going to test it and go with it. Loved seeing Beth Phoenix. I've been a Beth Phoenix. Yeah, I know. Randy Osgood though popped up on the screen.
I saw.
Phoenix, so I had to answer. That's but go ahead, steer the ship back into it.
The one thing that was weird about this was they got the cameras on her a little too early, and she
Yeah.
wasn't going out there until they hit the music, and she had that mean look on her face, and I'm like, she kind of reminded me of Bull Nakano too. To look, I love Beth Phoenix. It was an awkward moment, but I was happy when she finally came out, and it set up Edge with the spear, and Edge is the guy you definitely want to go over in this situation.
Well, the funny thing is I think that this is actually a setup for something else. I think this is actually a setup, and this is going to be to tune up Beth Phoenix for a feud with Seth Rollins and Becky.
That'd be interesting. We've already had Edge and Rollins, but I wouldn't mind.
If you remember, if you remember though, when Edge was injured, they had comments back and forth between Becky and Beth Phoenix and Edge and Seth Rollins, and I think that they might go away from a little bit with them having this little tune-up rivalry. But I think for WrestleMania, we might get Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins versus Edge and Beth Phoenix.
I'd actually like to see Beth Phoenix and Becky Lynch out of all those.
Absolutely, but I think you see the tag match before you see the singles.
Well,
just to make sure that Beth is in shape and ready to go. Although she looks phenomenal.
Yeah, no, Beth looks good. Becky Lynch. Speaking of Becky Lynch, her versus Liv Morgan. I thought they had a fight.
Oh, it delivered. It delivered. It did. That's Liv Morgan has really come into her own. Mm-hmm. Becky Lynch. Yeah, Becky Lynch is one of the best. Will Liv ever be in the Sasha, Becky Lynch, Charlotte? I know Josh DeBoard hates Charlotte, but will she ever be in that conversation? Most likely not, because I don't think her work's going to get there. But for what she can do, I think she's doing very well.
Yeah, I mean, she's getting a push, and I think she's going to stick it out.
And the fans love her.
Unlike what happened with Toni Storm here recently. I don't know if you actually heard that. Just a quick sidebar here before we get into the final match. Somebody posted this to me last night. It might have been Joe from somewhere. WWE, this was Toni Storm, by the way. I don't know if you heard this, AJ, so I thought you get a kick out of it.
Well, I know she's gone, but yeah.
All right, this is what she said, apparently. WWE has been very demanding. I miss countless weddings. I miss cousins' weddings, Christmases, my nephew's circumcision, and my father's intervention. I've come to realize.
Wait a minute. Was it necessary for her to be there at the circumcision? Was she holding the knife?
Hold on. Was
she stretching the foreskin?
Hold on. I got the best part here. I've come to realize my dream of a WWE star is nothing more than sacrificing my time just to put over some bitch that really feels we must bow down to her. Hold on here. Bow down. Put over some bitch that really feels we should bow down to her, not just in the ring, but off camera. Perhaps I should go somewhere where I can make an impact. Toni Storm.
Wow. I can't believe she's talking that way about Liv Morgan. I feel horrible for Liv.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I brought it up, because the last match.
Wow.
Well, that was real. That was a bitch move. Sorry, Tony. We love you, but come on.
No, that's a little dirty.
Anyway, let's get back to the ship. So, main event time.
Wow.
Man, Brock Lesnar. It's funny, Joe had texted me during this too that this was the best Brock Lesnar as far as on the mic, and then I saw some stuff on Twitter too. I didn't even think this was Brock at his best tonight on the mic. I enjoyed the backstage, but the stuff he's been doing with Sammy and everything has been so good.
Yeah, but how good is he right now? Doing his Paul Heyman impersonation.
Yeah.
He's so freaking entertaining. I'm glad to see the belt put on him. But
you texted right before this they could really make Big E tonight.
They could.
They did.
They did not. No. Although they did do a great job with the packages beforehand.
They did.
Making Big E. They did a great job with that.
Everybody looked good too. Everybody got their shit in tonight. Everybody in this match got offense. I thought Bobby Lashley looked really good.
Yeah, they didn't not shine anyone. Everybody got a good shine. Producer Joe's joined the party. What's going on, Joe?
I actually got to jump in because there were a lot of video packages. There were only 6 matches tonight, so they really filled the time up with video packages as they went along. And I thought the quality of the video packages was good. And this especially got me hyped up for this fight since I haven't watched the weekly TV.
Here's the funny thing, Dave. How do I feel usually about video packages?
You're usually not a fan.
No. However, tonight, I think they did a great job of hyping up the matches, explaining what is going on in the matches, considering what happened with COVID, not having Roman Reigns. And I think they did a good job with the packages of building the show for what they could, because they did lose a match. This
I
was
got a
supposed to be 7
sidebar
matches.
for you because there was no Roman Reigns tonight, but who else wasn't there? Paul
I
Heyman.
don't know.
Paul
Paul Heyman, that's right.
Yeah.
Well,
Now,
close contact.
Paul's been working close with him. Did
Yeah,
Paul
close
get
contact.
sick? How is Brock not sick if he's working close with them? Makes you wonder about the Usos. A lot of questions kind of came out of that, and I was wondering how it would affect the show tonight. It didn't hurt it too bad. I mean, you saw it padded with videos, but who knows going forward what could happen.
I do.
The Raw pay-per-view.
Well, I also do worry for Heyman because he's a little bit older.
Mhm.
And obviously, I mean, he keeps himself in great, phenomenal physical shape, but I worry for him. And then I also worry for Roman because Roman has the history of leukemia.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about an immune system that's been hurt through the years. So those are 2 people that I would worry about in this situation.
Now, how likely is it that you think that Roman stays out for longer than maybe just his quarantine period?
Well, he had a tweet out today that he said that he's looking forward to being back as soon as possible.
How happy is the WWE that the CDC came out and made the quarantine period only 5 days now?
Right. It's not only if you have. That's if you're like not having symptoms. Like he actually.
No, that's what I'm saying. That he tested positive today. We don't know what his symptoms were.
Right.
It might just be the random test that they do when you get to the building.
True.
That he actually tested positive. He might not be symptomatic at all.
Yeah, and you imagine he's got to be pretty careful with his health too.
I would think so. Yeah, I would think so.
It's probably a thing where he's positive, but not like a case where it's out of hand.
Dude, it's probably NXT Uso that gave it to him. Trying to get a spot.
I guess the big question is here before we end this night is where are they going? They're teasing. It looks like at the end of this, Brock and Lashley a little bit.
So
anytime they met during the match, it was a major clash.
So I sent it, and they did that well also because they didn't have him touch often, but they had Lashley get good shots on him.
Yeah.
He put him through the barrier. He speared him after he hit everybody else with the F5s. He got on the
too.
Yeah. You know, Big E absolutely looked dominant.
Yeah.
Nobody in that match didn't come out looking better than before. Even Seth Rollins and KO, they dominated the first half of the match.
That's great.
The way they worked together, I would love to see them as a team.
But once they added Brock, wasn't it almost a foregone conclusion who was taking that title?
Doesn't it make you wonder, though, at all?
He gave a lot, though. But, I mean, you know.
He gave a tremendous amount.
I think that what's my guess is, though, this is just a guess, and I think they're going to change. Like, it's probably was the original plan anyway. My guess is Brock was probably going to win the Royal Rumble. Like, he's probably going to lose to Roman and then win the Royal Rumble. And then he probably would have checked. Maybe he was going to go after Big E's world title and Lashley. And so maybe they're going to set up something now that Brock's the champ and, you know, he'll wrestle Lashley. Or maybe Brock loses his belt at the Rumble, wins the Rumble, and he faces Roman at Mania. So
I have a suspicion as to what I thought was going to happen tonight. I think that Brock somehow was going to lose to Roman Reigns, probably at the hands of Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
And I thought Lashley was going to win tonight, and then Brock was going to win the Royal Rumble. Now I think they're just going to reverse it, and Brock's the champ, and I think Lashley might win the Rumble.
All right, and you can always do Brock and Big E first too,
Absolutely, because you can have Brock versus Big E at the Rumble. Watch out, there is a sleeper now in the Rumble. We do have Johnny Knoxville now in the Royal Rumble, so watch out for that, David Arquette.
I forgot about
that. I didn't even think that was real when I read it today. And then, of course, WWE featured it in a video just before the promo video for the main event. And I was like, all right, we're doing that.
I have to imagine that Brock is thrilled that he actually got the belt put on him so he doesn't have to hook up with Johnny Knoxville.
20 years ago, that might have been interesting. Now I'm just worried about him getting hurt.
Well, the guy's like 70 years old now.
Yeah.
It's no longer jackass. Now it's, oh my God, I hope he doesn't break his ass.
Old ass.
Yeah, old ass. Nice.
Old ass. Yeah.
Hey, let's end this review with match of the night. AJ, who do you got?
You know, I want to give it to the girls. I do, because I think Liv and Becky did just a tremendous job. But this is one time where I felt like the WWE actually came through on the main event, even though it wasn't the planned main event. They came through, the 5 guys in there worked their ass off, and everybody came out bigger than they were before, even though Big E lost the belt. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with the main event.
Dave, what do you got?
I can't disagree. It's the main event. The main event was the most exciting thing. It was the big fight feel. I think you hit it on the head. The videos, it was just a big fight feel. In particular, even though I thought Kevin and Seth did a good job, and they were really tearing it up for me, I think there was that just element of like, whoa, we got something here. Whenever Brock and Lashley or Brock and Big E touched, I felt like Brock with any combination of those two was gold.
I got to say something. I know it hasn't showed up here yet, but Randy Osgood hit it actually right on the head there. He put the Hoss fight in the main event, and that's exactly what it was. It was every Hoss you could imagine in a fight. The only way that could have been even more was if Roman Reigns was in the battle himself.
Now, I got to agree with you guys, but almost for a different reason. I thought this card it felt like the most perfectly built of a WWE card lately, where it started out fire and then it just kept building. Yeah. The next match was always the best match up until that point. Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch, that was way better than I expected. And that main event, even though at the end I figured Brock was going to win, I didn't know how I liked it in the end. But overall, that was the match of the night, and I think they really delivered. And we're hoping to do some more of these live reviews as the year goes on. We can't say we're going to get to every pay-per-view, but when we can, we will. And we will see you next time.
Later, guys.